Don't feed his ego, feed his regret. Every time you feed his ego, you starve yourself. Worth, now I'm not here to tell you to play games. This isn't about being cold or pretending you don't care. This is about understanding your value so deeply that you stop rewarding behavior that doesn't honor it. If he walked away, disappeared, or couldn't decide what he wanted, don't chase. Don't post a thirst trap hoping he'll watch your story and realize what he's missing. Don't text him some emotional novel hoping it'll finally wake him up, because you don't feed his ego. You feed his regret, and you do that by moving on, not by proving your worth to someone who already undervalued it. Regret isn't created by seeing you beg. It's created when he watches you rise without him, when he sees your life getting better, your smile getting brighter, your energy no longer revolving around his attention. The kind of woman he'll miss is the one who didn't need him to see her value to validate it. So if someone's been giving you breadcrumbs, stop baking a whole damn loaf out of it. Step back, detach. Not because you don't care, but because you care enough about yourself to stop feeding something that doesn't nourish you. The moment you stop feeding his ego, you start feeding his regret, and more importantly, you start feeding your own freedom. When you respond to someone who gives you inconsistent effort, when you answer the late-night messages, accept last-minute plans, or keep entertaining someone who only shows up when it's convenient, you're doing more than just giving them your time. You're teaching them what the minimum required investment is to keep you around. Whether you realize it or not, every time you say yes to someone's crumbs, you're telling them they don't have to bring the whole meal. And if they can keep you close with barely any effort, they'll never be motivated to give more. Think about it. If a person knows they can disappear for days, send one "I miss you" text and be right back in your life. Why would they feel any urgency to change? Why would they work harder if what they're already doing is enough to keep your attention? People are wired to take the path of least resistance. If they don't have to give more, they usually won't. And that's not because they're bad people. It's because you've unknowingly set the standard for how little they can do and still get access to you. It's a hard truth, but one that will set you free. Love doesn't grow in confusion. It grows in clarity, consistency, and mutual effort. So when you reward someone's hot hand, cold behavior with warmth and understanding every time you're participating in your own disappointment, you're keeping a door open for someone who only knocks when it suits them. The longer you do that, the more emotionally exhausted you become, waiting, hoping, analyzing every message, trying to decipher what he really means. That's not love. That's a performance, and you deserve more than that. You may think you're being patient or giving them time to realize what they have, but all they're learning is that they can come and go without consequence. And while you're busy trying to earn their consistency, they're enjoying the freedom of having your loyalty without having to reciprocate it. So instead of giving them more chances, try something different. Stop showing up for someone who only sometimes shows up for you. Don't respond to inconsistency with availability. Respond with silence. Let your absence teach them what your presence used to mean. Because when someone realizes they can't just drop in and get the same access to your heart, that's when the dynamic shifts. You're not being rude. You're not being petty. You're just no longer rewarding behavior that doesn't align with what you want. And the moment you stop feeding their ego by accepting their scraps, you start creating space for someone who knows how to show up fully. It starts by recognizing that the bar you set is the bar they'll reach for. So set it high, not out of pride, but out of love for yourself. Self-worth isn't something you prove to others. It's something you protect fiercely within yourself. Far too often, people fall into the trap of trying to convince someone else that they deserve love, respect, and attention. They send messages, make excuses for bad behavior, or change parts of themselves to fit someone else's expectations, believing that if they just try hard enough, they'll finally get the validation they crave, But this approach is exhausting, and more importantly, it's completely unnecessary. Your value isn't up for debate or negotiation. It's an inherent part of who you are. And the most powerful thing you can do is recognize that and act accordingly. When you rely on someone else to see your worth, you give them too much control over your happiness. You start to live your life through their approval, constantly second, guessing your feelings, your choices, and your very identity. This is where many people get stuck thinking that if they just change one thing, say the right words, or act in a certain way, then finally they'll be enough. But the truth is, no one else's perception can add to or subtract from your inherent value. It's already there. It's already yours. Protecting yourself. Worth means setting boundaries, standing firm when something doesn't feel right, and refusing to lower your standards just to keep someone around. It means recognizing that your time, your energy, and your emotions are precious resources, and you get to decide how and where to invest them. When you act from a place of self-respect, you send a clear message not just to others but to yourself, that you are worthy of consistent love and care. This doesn't mean being rigid or inflexible. It means being intentional and clear about what you will and won't accept. It means understanding that sometimes the kindest thing you can do for yourself is to walk away from situations that don't honor your worth. It's about choosing yourself not out of selfishness but out of self-respect. The moment you stop trying to prove your worth, you free yourself from the exhausting cycle of chasing approval. You stop bending yourself into shapes that don't feel authentic just to fit someone else's mold. And in doing so, you start attracting people who see you as you are, without needing you to jump through hoops or prove anything. You begin to build relationships based on mutual respect, genuine care, and shared values, rather than desperation or fear of loss. It's also important to remember that protecting your self-worth doesn't mean you're perfect or that you won't make mistakes. It simply means you won't allow your mistakes or imperfections to define your value. You'll forgive yourself, learn, and grow, but never compromise on the belief that you deserve kindness, honesty, and respect. In essence, self-worth is your personal foundation. When it's strong and secure, you can navigate the ups and downs of relationships with confidence. You don't need external validation to feel good about yourself, because you already know your value. That strength becomes magnetic, drawing the right people into your life, those who are ready and willing to meet you on equal footing. So protect your self-worth fiercely. It's the greatest gift you can give yourself and the truest path to finding love that truly honors who you are. Creating regret in someone who has taken you for granted doesn't come from desperate attempts to get their attention or from dramatic emotional outbursts. It comes from the quiet power of walking away and living your life fully without them. The mistake many make is thinking that chasing after someone who is unsure or inconsistent will make them see what they've lost. But in reality, that chasing often reinforces their belief that you're available no matter what, and that there's no real consequence for their lack of effort. When you step back and genuinely detach, you show a different kind of strength, one that's calm, confident, and unshakable. Instead of reacting to their neglect with frustration or sadness, you focus on yourself, your happiness, and your growth. This shift sends a powerful message: you're not dependent on their approval to thrive. This independence naturally sparks regret, because it forces them to recognize what they gave up when they didn't treat you right. Regret grows not from watching you beg for their attention, but from watching you flourish without it. When you live your life on your terms, whether that means pursuing new passions, deepening friendships, or simply embracing your own peace, you create an undeniable contrast to the past. They see that you're not waiting around, you're moving forward, And that forward momentum is what triggers reflection and ultimately regret. It's also important to understand that creating regret isn't about punishing the other person or trying to manipulate their feelings. It's about honoring yourself enough to refuse to settle for less than you deserve. By walking away, you're not just protecting your own heart. You're also creating space for someone who truly values you to step in. You're making it clear that your time and energy are not unlimited resources to be taken for granted. This process requires courage because detaching from someone who once meant a lot is hard. It means confronting feelings of loss and uncertainty. But it also means reclaiming your power. When you stop reacting and start acting intentionally, you reclaim control over your emotional well-being. This is the moment when the dynamic changes not because you forced it to, but because you refused to feed into what wasn't serving you. When regret takes hold, it often brings clarity to the other person. They begin to see what they lost, not through words or confrontations, but through your absence and your growth. And this clarity can lead to change, but only if they're willing and able to step up. If not, your stepping away will have served its highest purpose, helping you find freedom and peace. Ultimately, the strongest way to feed regret is not to chase it, but to live your best life without apology. It's about cultivating joy, confidence, and fulfillment that can't be diminished by someone else's choices. That's how you turn the tables, not by clinging, but by letting go and showing the world and yourself just how valuable you truly are. Detaching with dignity means stepping back from a relationship or situation that no longer serves you without losing your sense of self or resorting to bitterness and resentment. It's a practice of maintaining grace even when things feel difficult and choosing clarity over confusion, peace over chaos. Many people think detachment means shutting down emotionally or becoming cold and distant, but that's not the case. True detachment comes from a place of strength and self-respect. It's about holding your boundaries firmly while still honoring your own feelings. When you detach with dignity, you don't lash out or engage in toxic behavior. You don't waste your energy on blame or anger. Instead, you acknowledge your feelings honestly, then make the conscious decision to remove yourself from the emotional roller coaster. You protect your heart by refusing to be pulled back into cycles of disappointment or manipulation. This kind of detachment allows you to regain your balance and see things clearly, without the haze of hurt or frustration clouding your judgment. It takes emotional maturity to detach with dignity, because it requires self-awareness and the ability to regulate your reactions. You recognize that while you can't control someone else's actions, you can control how you respond. You choose not to respond out of pain or fear, but from a place of calm and intentionality. This means you don't chase after someone who has walked away or ignore your own worth just to keep a connection alive. Instead, you give yourself permission to step back gracefully, understanding that this space is necessary for your healing and growth. Detaching with dignity also means refusing to lower your standards just to keep someone in your life. You don't settle for crumbs or half-hearted efforts. You hold firm to the boundaries that protect your well-being, knowing that maintaining those boundaries is a form of self-love. This can feel incredibly challenging when emotions are involved, but it's the difference between staying stuck in pain and moving toward a healthier, happier future. By detaching with dignity, you demonstrate to yourself and others that you won't accept less than you deserve, but you won't respond with bitterness either. Instead, you show up with grace, strength, and clarity. This kind of detachment is magnetic because it reflects confidence and self-respect qualities that attract the kind of people who are ready and willing to meet you on equal terms. Moreover, detaching with dignity helps you preserve your emotional energy. When you stop engaging in drama or toxic cycles, you free up mental space to focus on your own goals, passions, and happiness. You reclaim your power by refusing to be defined by someone else's inability to appreciate you. In summary, detaching with dignity isn't about shutting people out or being cold-hearted. It's about stepping away with grace and self-respect, honoring your own boundaries and choosing peace over pain. It's a powerful act of self-care that allows you to move forward without carrying the weight of bitterness, leaving you open to healthier, more fulfilling connections in the future. The kind of love you deserve is not something you have to earn through pain, sacrifice, or waiting endlessly for someone to change. It's not about shrinking yourself, hiding your true feelings, or settling for less than you truly want and need. Real love meets you where you are, respects your boundaries, and values you fully, not as an afterthought or a reward for endurance, but as a priority from the start. Many people believe that love requires endurance, that if they just wait long enough or try hard enough, the other person will eventually step up and give them what they deserve. But this belief can trap you in a cycle of disappointment and self-doubt. When you stay in a relationship where your needs are consistently unmet, or where you feel like you're always the one giving more, you start to lose sight of your own worth. You begin to think that your happiness depends on someone else's willingness to change, rather than your own decision to demand respect and kindness. The truth is, the right kind of attention doesn't require you to beg or plead. It doesn't require you to play games or wait on the sidelines, hoping for a text or a call. The kind of love that is healthy and fulfilling, shows up consistently, honors your feelings, and treats your time and energy as valuable. When someone truly values you, they don't test your patience or ask you to prove yourself. They show up fully, ready to invest equally in the relationship. When you accept anything less than that, you're settling. You're choosing confusion over clarity, inconsistency over stability, and doubt over confidence. This doesn't mean you expect perfection. No relationship is without flaws. But it does mean that the foundation is built on respect, honesty, and mutual care. You shouldn't have to negotiate for basic kindness or understanding. Those are non-negotiables. Loving yourself enough to expect this kind of love means being clear about your boundaries and willing to walk away when they're crossed repeatedly. It means trusting that you don't have to change who you are to be loved. Instead, you attract people who celebrate your authenticity and meet you with open arms. When you refuse to shrink yourself or settle for less, you create space for a love that lifts you up instead of tears you down. This kind of love encourages your growth, supports your dreams, and brings out the best in you. It's a partnership where both people show up as their true selves and choose each other every day, not out of fear, but out of genuine desire and respect. Ultimately, the love you deserve is one that doesn't make you question your value or your place in someone's life. It's steady, kind, and reciprocal. And the moment you stop waiting for someone else to decide your worth, you open the door to receiving that love in its fullest form. So remember, the right attention isn't earned through pain or sacrifice. It's given freely to those who recognize their own worth and refuse to settle for anything less. By holding out for this kind of love, you're not just protecting your heart, you're honoring your entire being. Thank you.